the replay, please let me know down in the comment section. Okay, just wanted to double check that I am live. Okay, perfect. Let me get some water because what is going on with the throat? 1 second. Okay. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank you so much for coming into today's session. I want to talk to you today about a topic that, nobody really wants to, talk about. No one just blatantly raises their hand and says, hey, I'm a fraud, or I feel like a fraud, right? But it is something that, especially when you decide to pursue entrepreneurship, can be a recurring thought that you battle with. So today I want to talk to you about why you have this feeling every now and then or all the time, where it's actually coming from, and how to stop it. The big thing here is that while this is something you can feel and can come up as a business owner, it isn't something that you have to just struggle through. This is something that you can actually actively work to combat. So as you are coming in, if you can think of someone in your network that could benefit from hearing today's talk, then please share this video out. Just hit the share button. It is free 99 to share. And we are going to dive right on in. My name is Kashaira. I am an international certified success coach. My specialty is working with other coaches, whether they are new, emerging, or experienced, on building an aligned coaching practice from start to scale. You can learn all about me at thepowercollective.co. And if you did not know, if you are new here, I am hosting a live class this Saturday, April 17th, on manifesting your power. We're going to talk about the mindset, daily habits, and rituals of powerful women. We are going to go deep into shifting limiting beliefs, healing your money story, and creating a prosperity plan for your business. This class is linked in my bio on Instagram and also in the title of this video. With that being said, let's talk about feeling like a fraud. So if you are brave and you're willing to admit that at some point in your entrepreneurial journey you have felt like a fraud, drop an emoji in the comments. This is a safe space, okay? Because I'm willing to bet if you are an entrepreneur, you probably felt this. If you are in a minority group as an entrepreneur, you definitely have felt this. And according to data, if you are a woman, period, who is a high achiever, odds are you've experienced this at least once in your life. There are actual studies and data that talks about where this comes from, right? So you may be thinking, well, this sounds extreme, like the words fraud and all of this, like what's going on? How can this manifest? First and foremost, it manifests like this. You either have so much doubt that you don't take action, or you take forever to take action, or it's halfway done action, right? Or you do take action, but then you're questioning if you're worthy of the results. You feel like it's a fluke. You feel like, oh my gosh, I got a client, but it was a one-time thing. I don't know why they signed on. They're probably going to back out. This can't happen for me again. You have thoughts like that, right? You have this sense of just overall not being good enough. You have this fear of being discovered, of not truly being good at what you say you're good at, even though you've been doing it for free, helping people for years, right? You have difficulty really processing and internalizing your success. Personally, hi Brooke, hi MJF. Personally, the last one, the difficulty internalizing success, is where I had the issue. I'm not even gonna lie. That's where I was like, what is going on? I'm running a what kind of business at how many employees? It was a lot. It was a lot, right? But this is actually the term that we know as imposter syndrome. This is a term that we know as imposter syndrome. Data shows that minority groups are more susceptible to questioning and doubting their own beliefs, which is why that quote, you have to work twice as hard to be half as good, is so much more prominent in our communities. I mentioned before that there was an entire study done, right? The term imposter syndrome imposter phenomenon was created in 1978 by a psychology professor, right, who was actually studying high achieving women. That's how the term even got discovered, right? Psychologists discovered that many of their high-achieving female clients seemed to be unable to internalize and accept their achievements. Even though there was consistent data to the arbitrary, they still contributed all of their success to luck, timing, charm, contacts, perseverance, or even the ability to just present themselves as more capable. And they were willing and they were easily able to believe all of that versus believing that they were actually just talented. Right? And when I read that, and this is actually from the quote is from a Harvard Business Review article. When I read that, I thought about so many of my past clients, right? Where I'm like the bulk of our longer conversations really focused on belief, right? So thinking through this, one, it's normal, but two, now how do we move past it? Because with time, you can internalize your success. But if you fall into that first group of people who they have so much doubt and fear that they don't move forward, they're unwilling to put themselves out there. They are unwilling to see projects through and fully commit to a launch, then you're going to delay your journey even more. So we have to figure out how to shift that, right? Because on the other side of this, we want to be confident. We want to seemingly have it together. We actually want success. We want to have an impact. We want to have a powerful business. But this fraud-like feeling is really blocking it, right? So let's examine the factors that are at play here, because if we can break it down and truly understand it, we have a better chance of actually winning the fight against it. So here in this situation, we have both internal and external factors at play. And let's start with the external, because I feel like those are easier to recognize. So the external factors, first and foremost, social media, right? Social media. So I want you to just envision for a second, within the last 90 days, have you ever felt like you were not good enough or that you were never going to be successful because of something you saw on social media? Have you ever had the thought, when will that be me, when scrolling through social media? Have you ever had the thought, I could never do that, when scrolling through social media? And you don't have to say anything out loud here, but I'm just saying, catch yourself with that, right? Because that seemingly quick passive thought as you're scrolling can manifest into something bigger. And social media isn't all bad, but we have to be very, very intentional about what we are consuming. And know that if you need to block, unfollow, mute, just log off altogether for your own sanity, then that's what you have to do for your own sanity, right? So thinking through, what is my initial response when I see these things? And yeah, at some point we want to get to a place of not having those thoughts altogether, but in the meantime, forcing ourselves to just sit through it is not going to help, right? But then there's also the people who I personally feel on social media are just irresponsible. The people who are selling you a dream that having a six-figure business is easy. The people who are selling you a dream that all you need is a passive funnel and an ebook and you can just sit on the beach all day and just make all this money. People who are selling you a dream that all you got to do is follow a two-step process to have a profitable coaching business. Like, it ain't that, y'all know what I'm talking about. The ones who are making you think that it's all Louis Vuitton bags and Gucci belts and flights, and that's really all she wrote. It's creating this perception that it's not hard. So then when you actually try to do this entrepreneurial thing and you realize, oh, this is actually work, you think something's wrong with you. You think something's wrong with you because you actually have to put in effort and energy, right? And I'm going to be the first to tell you, it's not easy. But something not being easy does not mean it's impossible. Anything worth having takes work. It takes effort, right? Think about people who are happily married. They will always tell you, oh, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes energy. Why do we think that building 6- and 7-figure businesses is supposed to be different? Why do we think we're supposed to come out of the gate having the same back end business model as someone who's been doing something for 5 or 10 years, right? Like, that part just don't make any sense. So that's one external factor. Another external factor could be TV and movies, right? It could be some of the content you're consuming in your spare time that's creating different, negative thoughts for you. It could be family and friends, right? You could have a negative relative or a best friend with a lot of limiting beliefs who they love you to death, but they can't see the vision. They don't have the same perspective as you, and that can cause you to have that doubt, right? You're casually having drinks with a friend and you're talking about a program you want to create and they tell you that no one's going to pay you that, right? Like, you can internalize that. It could come from colleagues. I know, working in corporate America, I have a lot of PTSD that I'm working through from corporate America, from some of the shady things colleagues and former managers have said to me. Like, anybody else could think of something, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was intense. But those things can live with you, those things can stay with you. And while you might think that, oh, that was just a random situation, yeah, it was annoying and hurt my feelings in a moment, but I'm over it. But then now, let me give you an example. Let's say you were working with a team at your job, and you presented a proposal, and your boss just ripped it up into shreds. They told you it was terrible, it was the worst idea they ever heard, you wasted their time, they were just awful, and you cried about it, you was in your feelings about it, but you thought you let it go. Fast forward 3 years later, you are now working on your launch plan, and you too scared to share it with your coach because you feel like it's not good enough. You don't want your coach to review it because you feel like it's just not going to work, and you just sit there on it. You don't take action. You don't get help. You just sit there on it, but you can't really explain why you're sitting there on it, right? That situation is coming back up for you. That situation created this stigma of anything you put a lot of effort into will never quite make the mark, and so now you're just sitting here. That's an example of how this external stuff can impact what's happening in your business. And even when you are choosing to get support in the form of therapy and coaching, it might even prevent you from actually opening yourself up to get that help, right? This is why I want you to know that this is bigger than just feeling the fear and doing it anyway. This is actually taking the time to recognize some of the things that we're holding on to, right? And then there's the internal part, right? So let's switch. We talked about internal and external factors at play. The internal factors could be your life experiences, right? That could be, unfortunately, childhood trauma, which I pray that you don't have, but it could be. It could be where you grew up, maybe the neighborhood you lived in, the city you lived in, maybe where you came from. People didn't get certain types of jobs or start businesses or X, Y, and Z. They followed a certain path, right? It could be your limiting beliefs. It could be the limiting beliefs and the stories you tell yourself about money, about worthiness, about value, about what you're capable of, right? You've convinced yourself that, well, all I gotta do is just replace my income. I don't want anything more than that. And you think that by being humble, you're somehow going to just like manifest it, right? Which is not how manifestation works, right? That's not how it works, but we just tell ourselves these stories because we're afraid to go after what we're truly supposed to have. If you're listening to me and you're watching me in some form or fashion, whether it's real time or in the future of a replay, you are literally called and destined for more. There is no limit to what you can do and no limit to what you can have. You don't have to settle for being comfortable, right? And just because you're purpose driven and passion driven does not mean you have to be broke. That's not how this works, right? So that's a lot to unpack. But from there, we actually have more leeway to create a solution for this. Because if we don't actually recognize the things that are causing us to feel this way, even if we can't get super specific about like that one time at work, even though I do feel like that one time at work, if we at least can start to unpack the top part of it, we have a bigger chance of conquering this, right? We have a bigger chance of fighting. It's like, envision you're in a car on a road trip and you're just aimlessly driving, but you don't know where you're going. You're opening up Google Maps and you're trying to figure it out, but Google Maps can't help you if you don't really know like where you're starting from, right? So thinking about how can we create the best opportunity for us to win, right? So thinking about what are our next steps here, the big thing is we have to be willing and able to move forward fixing the problem. If we don't fix this, what's going to happen is that these thoughts and beliefs we have will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we continue to believe that we're not worthy, then we are not going to have whatever it is we think we're unworthy of. If we continue to move forward as if our programs are not good enough, then people are not going to enroll in them. If we feel like our marketing isn't going to work, people will not engage with it. If we feel like we're not worth being paid $5,000 and $10,000, nobody is going to pay us $5,000 and $10,000. If we don't believe in us, then our clients won't believe in us, right? Our friends and family won't believe in us, right? First step, recognizing the problem. The second step, acknowledging that this does not have to be your reality. Even if it's been your reality for your whole life, for the last 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. It doesn't have to be your reality moving forward. You co-create your reality, right? You co-create your reality. We have to decide that we want different. Now, this does not mean it won't still be work, right? But we are not in the business of running away from hard work. If that was the case, we wouldn't be interested in entrepreneurship, right? This is one of the reasons why I always tell you do things afraid, because you're not going to journal that fear away, right? It's really going to be that experience that helps you to move through it and start to think and feel differently, right? One of the biggest steps to overcoming imposter syndrome and feeling like a fraud is starting with shifting those limiting beliefs that got you there in the first place. Because even if you go back to our example of having a horrible boss who talks down to you, what that scenario has done is created a complex, i.e. a limiting belief for you, right? This limiting belief that you can't do anything correctly. We have to now revert that and shift that. So if you are registered for Saturday's class, Manifest Your Power, I am going to teach you how to do this. We are going to work through this in real time for a limiting belief that you have, so that you can actually have a process and a roadmap to follow. And like I've mentioned before, the work is going to start on Saturday, but it doesn't end on Saturday. I'm going to give you the tools and everything that you need to move forward with working on your mindset. But this is a continuous, lifelong journey, right? Like, it's not going to be a 2-hour affair and then all of a sudden it's growth mindset, girl, ready to go, we out here. Like, it's a continuous process, especially as you level up in your business. So with that, I pray that this session was helpful for you. It gave you some things to consider and think about. Make sure you start to think about, what factors are at play for you, internal, external, where they're coming from. And if you do want to go deeper, you can register for Saturday's class at bit.ly/manifest your power class. If you have questions about the class and you want to ensure it's a good fit for you, slide in my DMs over on Instagram. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. With that, I will talk to you all in the next video. Bye.